We usually think of industrial accidents as rookie mistakes. A new hire misses a step in the manual, misreads a warning label, or simply doesn't know the rules. It makes intuitive sense, but the numbers tell a completely different story. This chart shows workplace fatality rates categorized by years of experience. You can see the rate for new hires is relatively low, but then we look at the right side of the graph. 70% of lockout tagout, or LOTO fatalities, involve workers with over a decade on the job. Picture a millwright who has maintained the exact same line for 15 years. He skips placing a physical padlock to quickly clear a jam, relying entirely on his familiarity with the machine's rhythm. Then the conveyor unexpectedly engages. This is the expert paradox. While new employees make visible errors born from ignorance, veterans succumb to invisible safety drift. Their deep, practiced familiarity with heavy machinery breeds a highly dangerous level of comfort. Over thousands of successful, injury-free repetitions, the brain biologically automates tasks to save energy. A strict 8-step life-saving procedure slowly degrades into a split-second fatal assumption that it will be fine. This psychological decay happens in 4 distinct stages. It starts with stage 1. The shortcut. Cognitive automation kicks in, making the decision to skip a tag verification feel like a harmless efficiency rather than a lethal risk. That leads directly to stage 2, the normalization of deviance. When a worker bypasses a safety rule and nothing goes wrong, that violation slowly becomes the accepted social norm for the entire shift. Sociologist Diane Vaughan coined this term. She wasn't studying factory floors, but rather the systemic failures that led to the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. During the formal Rogers Commission investigation, Vaughan found that the organization had routinely accepted and normalized critical hardware anomalies on the shuttle's O-rings long before the actual launch date. They repeatedly pushed boundaries without catastrophic results, until the accepted level of risk became mathematically lethal. This graphic illustrates an inverted Heinrich pyramid, mapping how thousands of invisible near misses compound over time. Back on the factory floor, this is stage 3, confirmation bias. The veteran points to 20 years of survival as hard proof that their specific shortcuts are perfectly safe. Finally, we hit stage 4, production pressure. Intense deadlines and demands from supervisors push workers to maintain uptime at all costs. This aligns the final holes in the Swiss cheese model of risk, where every safeguard fails at once. Experienced workers rarely break safety protocols out of malice. Human psychology naturally drifts toward the path of least resistance when organizations fail to correct it. But blaming individual psychology only gives us half the picture. We have to look at the physical realities of the factory floor, because the idea of a few bad apples ignores the environment creating them. Poor machine ergonomics and chronic understaffing actively force workers into dangerous compromises. If an isolation point is bolted behind a heavy barrier, an exhausted operator will bypass it to keep the line moving. This triggers the obligation effect. Workplace culture subtly rewards the veteran who clears jams the fastest. If a supervisor only praises high production numbers during morning huddles, they are actively endorsing those bypassed interlocks. A LOTO violation is rarely an isolated human error. It is a system that implicitly prioritizes production speed over procedural integrity. Knowing this, traditional behavioral safety models and generic annual training videos are completely insufficient to rewire a veteran expert's automated brain. To disrupt this pattern, organizations are implementing mental LOTO first. This is a mandatory 2-minute cognitive circuit breaker, a deliberate mental reset required before a worker ever touches a physical lock. This line graph shows the impact of a peer-to-peer accountability system called the LOTO Buddy. Once peer verification was introduced, pilot data from the American Society of Safety Professionals revealed a steep 60% drop in bypassed steps. Companies are also utilizing drift audits and virtual reality training. VR allows veterans to practice complex isolations and physically confront the fatal consequences of their specific normalized shortcuts in a completely safe space. Emerging 2026 data shows modern engineering solutions taking this a step further. AI motion-detecting wearables and digital LOTO systems with smart padlocks are tracking verifications in real time, removing the physical friction of compliance entirely. If you want to see where your own organization stands, download the LOTO Drift Checklist to audit your high performers for the normalization of deviance. Experience builds unparalleled technical skill, but it also creates deadly blind spots. We have to engineer our systems and our cultures to stop the drift before we face the crush.